hitting the second week in May, and it's time to get some of those tenders out of the greenhouse, but they're not going in the ground, they're going in the polytunnel. Even though it's only about 6 weeks since I sowed my curcubits, some of them have really gone for it. Now my pumpkins and my squashes are being a little bit slower to come through, but that's fine because they will need to go outside and I don't quite trust the weather just yet. However, my cucumbers and my melons are really going for it and they're quite desperate to go in the ground, which is why they are going to go in the perfect place, which is inside this polytunnel. However, before they go out and get planted in, I need to do a little bit of work because these are viners and they are going to need a little bit of support. So even though I have put plastic at the top of these A-frames, which is really because they need to be absolutely sturdy because they're going to be taking some weight, I'm just going to, at different intervals, put some of this twine in between, and this means that as the vines start to grow, they're going to have something to grab hold of. And it is those good old-fashioned A-frames. And the reason why twine is absolutely fine in here is because there's not going to be any birds, because nesting birds particularly love to actually pinch and nibble through this twine so that they can build their nest. But this, as I say, is going to be absolutely spot on inside the polytunnel itself. So now that the frames are actually up, it's time to, of course, get these babies in the ground. Now, what I've noticed on some of my cucumbers quite unusually are little primordial roots coming out the base of the stem. Now, that is something that we would normally see on our nightshades, such as our tomatoes, but not necessarily on these guys. So it's telling me that these are absolutely desperate to go in the ground. Now, you need those primordial roots to actually throw out more roots. And unfortunately on this little guy, I have broken off the top and there's no primordial roots on there. So unlike tomato plants, if I plant this, it is not going to regrow. So I might sort of just look after that in the greenhouse and see if it does anything. If it throws out any more shoots, it's unlikely. I think that's a bit of a lost cause. So what I'm going to do with these is you have to be careful with cucumbers because they are absolute divas. They will just decide that they are not going to grow. They will sort of sulk quite badly and sometimes they just die. That is not a you thing. So if you are new to growing cucumbers, don't be panicking. It's just what they do. So I am going to keep some spares so that if I need to replace them, I can do. So just as usual, I'm going to dib a hole in the ground, quite a nice one actually. So I'm going to just make that a bit bigger with my hand. And then I'm going to, again, squeeze the bottom, holding on to the roots. If I need to tease them a bit, I will do. And I'm just going to plant to the top of those primordial roots. I'm not going to go any deeper than that, purely and simply because they are such divas. If I go too deep with these around the base of the cucumber stem itself, it will get sort of waterlogged, it will have a right strop, and it will probably die on me. Now I do need to watch the watering in here. I can see that my pak choi has well and truly bolted, and that's a sign of stress. And it's just because it's been so warm in here and I haven't really maintained watering, although I'm going to make sure that I do now that I've got sort of my main crops going into this polytunnel now. So just bedding that in, making sure that it's sort of just on the outside of where these lines are, so that as that starts to grow, hopefully, and it doesn't have a complete paddy on me, it's going to be able to vine up. Now I know that the top of my frames are not very high, but they are high enough to get them to the point where they will just keep on vining and maybe hang off the frame of this polytunnel, which is absolutely fine with me because they are going to be glorious. And I do rather love my cucumbers, and those of you who know me well know that I do rather interesting things with them. Don't be dirty. They are absolutely brilliant. Get your cucumbers, get your melons out in the polytunnel and get them growing.